Nora Toomey is a clinical herbalist and herbal medicine maker. She completed a 1,000-hour apprenticeship and clinical certification at the Berkeley Herbal Center in California. She is the co-owner of a plant and sound meditation business, Flower and Frequency, and also runs a clinical practice and herbal product line, True Bloom. She's passionate about mutual aid and herbal harm reduction and has most recently begun work with the People's Medicine Project, supporting folks through addiction and opioid use with plant medicine. Currently, she lives in Northampton, Massachusetts with her husband Josh and their cat Stevie Nicks. So please welcome Nora.
Oh, thank you so much, Jenna. So happy to be here, and thank you to everyone for joining us tonight on this full moon. So happy that all of you are here, and I think the high numbers of participants tonight just really speak to the fact that people are ready to tune back into plant medicine. And it's a medicine that's always been here for us. It's always been here for our ancestors. And it's just really beautiful to see that so many folks are ready to bring it back into their lives. So yeah, to begin, I would just like to cheers anyone. I know the first 20 or 30 participants or so received a tea blend. So if anyone's sipping on their tea right now, I just wanted to give you a little cheers and take a sip myself. Yummy. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to begin a PowerPoint slide presentation. And before I do that, I just want to mention a few things. Jenna mentioned a few like Zoom related protocols, and I just want to add to that just about questions. So if folks, while the presentation is going on, if you have a question, instead of the raise hand feature, I would just go ahead and type your question in the chat box. And then at the end of the presentation, we're going to take some time, a good chunk of time, to go over any of the questions that have come up. And if there's a question that you don't feel comfortable, sharing with the group, that's 100% fine. At the end of the presentation, there's going to be a slide that has my email on it. You can't hear me. Well, that's good to know. Let's see. Maybe I'll get closer. How's that? Any better? Okay, well, I'll just keep going. Oh, good. Okay, so there's going to be a slide at the end of the presentation that has my email information. So for anyone that has a question, either they don't feel comfortable sharing with the group or one that we don't get to, you can just go ahead and email me tonight or anytime in the near future, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Okay, so with that, I am going, oh, great. Thanks all for letting me know that you can hear me. Makes me happy. So let's transition into the presentation. Okay. And before we begin, I thought it would be nice if we could just have a grounding moment together before we begin this talk. The way I like to do this is just to center us all and just gather us in this moment, is to just do a quick breathing exercise. If you're sitting down, if you can put your feet on the floor and really feel that ground beneath you, that's a nice way just to ground into the moment with us. So go ahead and do that if you can. If not, if you're sitting in your bed or on the couch with your feet up, that's fine too. Just get comfy. And let's go ahead and just do 3 really deep breaths together, in through our noses and out through our mouths. And what I'm going to do is place my hand on my heart and another hand on my belly. That's a really nice way for me just to ground down for a moment. So let's go ahead and just do 3 really deep breaths together. Beautiful. So, oops. Okay. So before we get into the plants, and I will say, even before this presentation begins, that I really am going to share quite a bit of information with everyone. And I think Jenna mentioned this in the beginning, but just so everyone knows, you will get a copy of this presentation at the end of class. So, if you want to just sit back and take in as much as you can, that's a great way to engage with this. If you want to take notes, that's great too. But just know that all this information will be coming to you in the form of a PowerPoint presentation that you can just look at in your own time. But yeah, so just to begin, before we talk about any of the plants, it's really important for us to zoom out and think about lifestyle. And these are going to be all the pieces we really need to have in place to make sure that our nervous systems are set up to work optimally. So the first piece here is going to be sleep. So when we sleep, we are in the parasympathetic state. And this is the time that our nervous systems tell us that we're safe, that we can rest and digest, that we can repair ourselves. And it's also a time when our livers are working very hard to process and therefore balance all the hormones in our body, but especially our stress hormones. So when we're not getting quality sleep, virtually every system in the body begins to have challenges. And then all of these systems are going to impact our stress hormones and our nervous system regulation. So there's going to be a handful of plants that we talk about today that are supportive to sleep. But honestly, the best thing you can do is just try to focus on these other pieces here as a way to really best support this first sleep foundation here. Okay, so the next piece in a foundation of a healthy nervous system is, of course, going to be stress management. So our bodies are designed to handle short-term stressful situations. Our nervous system is basically a sensory machine, just gathering information through sensory receptors, and then deciding if it's time to slip into our sympathetic, which is our fight or flight response, or if it's safe to be in our rest and digest or parasympathetic response. So a pretty classic example of this, which I believe comes from the book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, is the example of you being one of the first humans on this planet. And it's back in the day and you're out gathering food and you all of a sudden perceive that a tiger is close by. So what happens is your body perceives that a stressful situation might be around the corner. And then a cascade of all these physical reactions start to happen. So your immune system shuts down, your digestive system shuts down, your reproductive system shuts down, and all the blood gets pulled away from non-essential organs and then rushes to your extremities so you have the energy to run and fight. Now, this would be super helpful if we were actually fighting a tiger, but the problem is our nervous systems have not adapted to this modern world. So the amount of tigers that are coming at us may have declined, but the amount of constant everyday stress that we experience has infinitely multiplied. And our bodies can't tell the difference between tiny everyday stresses and an actual tiger. And every plant that we talk about today is going to be useful in getting us out of those physical cascade reactions that I was describing and out of our fight or flight response and into our parasympathetic response. So there's hope. And I'm hoping that this list here doesn't really stress you out further, but I hope it gives you some compassion for just how much your sweet little nervous system has to deal with, on a daily basis. And, I think any one of us, may experience, gosh, like 15 or 20 of these every single day. And there's a million plants that we can call on, that some of which we're going to learn about today. But there's also all these other stress reducing techniques that you may have in your toolkit already, like meditation or taking a bath, going for a walk, singing in the car, deep breathing like we just did. All of these things are very, very helpful. So just a piece in really nourishing your nervous system is calling on those stress reduced techniques. And I want to mention too, this last one here might seem a little silly, alarm clocks. You might be wondering, what does that mean? And I just want to share that this can make such a difference if you aren't waking up first thing in the morning to a very loud, obnoxious alarm clock. If you can find something that wakes you up a little softer, that's gonna create just a much calmer experience for you first thing. If you are listening to something really loud and annoying, that's just instantly going to get you in your fight or flight response from the second you open your eyes. So if you are a person that's still using like a really loud beepy alarm clock, I just want to gently offer that maybe seeing if you could switch to a softer wake up sound would be a beautiful support piece. Okay, so the next piece in the foundations of the healthy nervous system is going to be vitamin D, or getting sunlight or supplementing with vitamin D. And if you are supplementing with vitamin D, I would recommend D3. This is going to break down in your body in a very similar way to actual sunlight. And this is just a wonderful support piece for your nervous system. There's also some really beautiful sun-bearing plants that I'll mention. St. John's wort, chamomile, lemon balm, calendula. Those are the ones that are coming to mind. But all of those plants really bring in this warming light of the sun into your body. And this is another way that you can energetically receive that sun medicine from those really bright yellow bright plants and flowers. But when you're thinking about actually the synergy that happens with the actual vitamin D, nothing really beats that sunlight or eating very leafy greens or actually supplementing with vitamin D3. Okay, the next piece is going to be hydration. So ideally, everyone should be drinking half of their body weight in ounces every single day of water. So I'll say that again. However much you weigh, you should be drinking half of that in water in ounces every single day. And virtually every human is chronically dehydrated. And just fixing this one little piece is going to help with fatigue levels, inflammation, depression, anxiety, insomnia, and so much more. Okay, so the next piece is going to be all about moving the body, exercise. And this can look like gentle stretching, yoga, dancing, light cardio. It does not have to be a really intense situation for your body. You don't have to become a marathon runner or something like that. But just gently moving the body every day works wonders in balancing stress hormones and really supporting all of these other pieces. So it's a great support piece for the nervous system. Even just walking, if you could walk like 10 minutes a day, if you could do it 3 times a day, that would be awesome. But even just once, like leaving your house, going for a walk for 5 minutes, and then coming back for 5 minutes, that's going to be very supportive. Okay, so then the last foundational piece is all about diet. This last piece is so very important. most of us are experiencing levels of systemic inflammation because of our diet. And this just means that our diet is so acidic that it's causing inflammation in the body. And our diet is acidic when we're eating excess sugar, processed foods, too much caffeine, and yeah, foods that are kind of farthest away from their original form. So it's really important to think about this piece because when our bodies are inflamed, we get stuck in this cycle of producing too much cortisol, which is that stress hormone. And this then messes up our nutrient absorption. So we're not absorbing the nutrients that we're eating when we're eating our beautiful food. It messes up our GI function, our sleep, our ability to clear out toxins and excess hormones from the body, and so much more. And all of these imbalances, they then loop back and increase inflammation. So we just get locked into this forever loop of really not feeling our best. So when we think about nourishing the nervous system, we really, really want to think about decreasing inflammation in the body. And one giant step towards this is going to be changing our diet to an anti-inflammatory diet. And a great example of this kind of diet is something called the Whole30 diet. There's a slew of really wonderful recipes online that you can access for free. Tons of great resources on the Whole30. So that's a place I would begin if you were just starting to figure out like what is an anti-inflammatory diet. But yeah, the Whole30 diet would be a good starting place. Okay, so as we are learning about these plants that support the nervous system, it's important to think about the plant actions. And this is going to be a way for you to really start to understand the language of the plants and start to understand, yeah, like which plants kind of fall under which umbrella. And it's just helpful to first start off with these plant actions when you're getting to know plants. So nervines are going to be the general category of plants that include any plant that supports the nervous system. And then under that umbrella, there's going to be nervine or nervine stimulants and also nervine relaxants or sedatives. So stimulants are going to be plants that directly stimulate the nervous system. And this could be indicated for you if you're leaning more towards depression or brain fog, things like that, where you just kind of need a little boost. And then nervine relaxants are going to be the other end of that. So they really calm the nervous system down. So if you're someone that is living more in the anxiety spectrum of nervous system imbalance, this would be a great class of plants for you. And then nervine tonics or tropho-restoratives are going to be plants that really feed and generally tonify the nervous system. And yeah, they really just rebuild the nervous system from the ground up. So they're wonderful for that deep, deep burnout, chronic stress, if you've just been stressed for as long as you can remember. Chronic stress or depletion after chronic drug and alcohol use. It's another great place for nervine tonics to step in and really support the body. And then hypnotic nervines are going to be herbs that just support sleep. This next class of herbs, adaptogens. So these are a wonderful class of herbs for you to get to know. These are going to be plants that basically help the body adapt or deal with any kind of stress. So this could be emotional stress, you're just feeling stressed out. This could be physical stress. So maybe you're experiencing some inflammation in the body. And this could also be environmental stress. So maybe, you're someone that works in the world and you're around a lot of toxins, or you're constantly having to sanitize things, as I'm sure many of us are, um, yeah, adaptogens kind of step in and just help bring our bodies back into balance when we're experiencing any kind of stress. And they're beautiful plants that you can take every day. And I will just say that the two kind of rules of thumb with adaptogens is you do want to switch them out pretty regularly. So I would say if you find an adaptogen that you love, that's great, stick with it. But maybe around the 3 or 4 month mark is going to be a time for you to switch out to a different adaptogen. And then also I'll mention, just because it's cold and flu season, adaptogens are so good at kind of, they don't trick the body, but in a sense they do, because they kind of just swoop in and just tell you like everything's okay. You don't need to have that inflammation. You don't need to be stressed out. But if we're sick, oftentimes inflammation is a good thing. That's our immune response. So if you're taking adaptogens while you have a cold or a flu, it can often drive the sickness in a little deeper. So it's just a good rule of thumb to not reach for adaptogens with an active infection or any sort of a cold or flu. Okay, and this next class of herbs is going to be antispasmodics. So these are a beautiful class of nervous system plants that are wonderful if you're someone who just holds a lot of tension in your body. If you, yeah, maybe you suffer from migraines, or you just have a really tense upper back or neck, shoulder area, something like that. Antispasmodics can really just come in and calm everything down. And this is also very useful in the GI. So if you're someone that has a lot of stress in their stomachs, antispasmodics can be a great class of herbs for you. And then antidepressants, of course, are going to be herbs that support the body move through depression. And then analgesics are going to be herbs that relieve pain, which of course is very, very important when you're thinking about supporting the nerves, the nervous system. Okay, and this is something I wanted to share before we dive deep into the plants. Plant of the Week model. So this is a way that I like to suggest to folks who are just starting to interact with plant medicine. You could even stretch this out to plant of the month model, where you just pick one plant at a time and you try to interact with it as many ways as possible. And yeah, one of my favorite sayings in herbal medicine is plants are people too. And I feel that so strongly. And I think as you get to work more with different plants, you'll really start to see their different personalities and their different energetics in the body. And plant medicine is really beautiful because it's so nuanced. So there are effects that you'll feel in your body if you just have, something called a spirit dose. So that's going to be a very small dose of the plant, maybe a few sips of tea, or a few drops of tincture. That's going to give you the spirit or energetics of the plant. But then if you take a heavier dose, you're getting more of like the phytochemical physical action of the plant. So yeah, kind of taking your time and really spending a week or a month with one plant at a time is a really beautiful way for you to first engage with plant medicine. And here, these are some suggestions of fun ways to interact. I really like this one, meditating with plants as you're getting to know them. It's really fascinating. I think you'll find that your body really knows so much. And yeah, I think many of us, if we're introduced to a new plant, we may look at it and, gosh, I don't know anything about this. But then you take a little bit and maybe close your eyes. And oftentimes you'll start to feel a sensation in your body of kind of where the plant is naturally gravitating towards. So if it's a plant that is supportive to your digestive system. For instance, you might kind of feel a glow or some sort of sensation in your digestive area, or might, yeah, see a story or message or something might come through. And yeah, we're just infinitely connected to these plants, and there's so many ways to gather information about how they work in the body. Okay, your tea blends. So many of us in class tonight received a little tea blend as a way to jumpstart your relationship to these plants. And I know there's many of us here tonight who have not received a blend. And I just want to share that I did try to pick herbs that are very accessible and yeah, easy to find. So this is a blend you could make for yourself, no problem. And I just used equal parts for this blend of everything, except I think I used maybe 2 parts of hawthorn and 2 parts of Tulsi, but everything else was equal. And yeah, in a moment, we're going to talk about the first 4 plants in this blend. But I did just want to look at the whole blend for a minute and kind of share a little bit about these last 3 plants as well. We're not going to go too in depth with them, but they're such beautiful nervous system plants. So I wanted to just briefly mention some things about them. Yeah, so hawthorn is a beautiful nervine, and some herbalists actually categorize hawthorn as an adaptogen. And with thinking that it has a special affinity for the heart. So it has adaptogenic properties for the heart specifically. And this just means, yeah, it's especially wonderful if you are someone who holds a lot of tension in your heart space. Um, Maybe when you get stressed out, you experience palpitations or your heart starts to race a bit, something like that. Hawthorn would be a really beautiful plant to call on for you. It's traditionally used in Celtic medicine. So if you're someone who has a Celtic lineage, it might be an extra special plant to call on. And then rose. Rose is also a beautiful nervine, very relaxing and gentle for the nervous system. It's an astringent plant, and it kind of works like that in the body. Like when things kind of just feel a little overwhelming and just you're just kind of overrun with all these emotions, it kind of just works to tighten all that up, and it's also very supportive to the heart energetically while doing that. And then I will say, both of these plants in the wild have these really beautiful thorns. You're probably very familiar with the rose thorn, but hawthorn, you could probably tell from the name, also is a plant that has thorns that are protecting the berries of this plant. And I think energetically, that's also how it works in your body. Both hawthorn and rose kind of have this protective air about them. So I've seen them be really helpful for folks who are experiencing a lot of stress or trauma in their lives and are needing a little support with boundaries. These plants can be really beautiful to call on if that resonates with you. And then ginger. Ginger, of course, is a beautiful plant in so many ways. It's anti-inflammatory, so it's going to support that inflammation piece we were talking about earlier. It specifically kind of goes to the GI and really supports that autonomic nervous tissue in the GI, and so much of our nervous system is connected to that area of our body. So it's a wonderful support plant for that, especially for folks who hold stress in their stomachs. And then it's a great blood mover. So it kind of, if you're just feeling a little stagnation in your body, it's a great one to kind of just get things moving. And then of course, it's also a root. So when we think about supporting the nervous system, I really love thinking about calling on root medicine. So ginger is a great one to call on. Burdock is a beautiful, beautiful root medicine. Dandelion root. Cinnamon's not a root actually, but also works in a similar way. But yeah, all those plants really ground a person when they're just feeling like they don't even want to be in their bodies. Like you're so stressed out that you don't even really want that. You don't want to, your body doesn't feel like a safe or fun place to be. And ginger and those other root medicines and also cinnamon can just help you feel safe and rooted and back at home in your body. So that's a little bit about those three. And in a moment, we're going to talk about these four. I will say this would be a beautiful blend to make and have, just whenever you're feeling stressed out and you just need a little support. But if you wanted to use it for like nervous system regulation in a very serious way, like to support more chronic stress, I would recommend 1 cup 3 times a day. So really being consistent as much as you can. That's kind of where herbal medicine shines, with consistency. So yeah, this is something I did not write on your tea bags, but I would recommend 3 cups a day if you're really needing that deep nervous system regulation. Okay, so this is the next plant we're going to talk about. This is Tulsi, and another common name for Tulsi is holy basil. It's a beautiful plant. It smells so good. Wish we were in person so y'all could smell it. And I think just before we get into the details about Tulsi, I do want to explain a little bit about how the slides are set up, because every single one of these slides is going to be set up in the same way. So up at the top here, we're going to have the common name. And then just below in italics is going to be the Latin name. And the Latin name is really important to also kind of keep in your head as you're starting to work with these plant medicines, because many different regions in the country and also other parts of the world, they might have a different common name for some of these plants, but the Latin name is like the universal language of plant medicine. So it's a great way just to know that you're always getting what you think you're getting and interacting with the plant that you want to interact with. And this is the genus, and this is the species. It's kind of like a last name, first name situation. And there are several species of Tulsi that are medicinal and work in virtually the exact same way. But I tend to reach for this sanctum, Ocimum sanctum variety. It's just my go-to. But yeah, many other species will work just as well. And then right here where it says cooling post-digestion, warming pre-digestion, this is talking about the energetics of the plant. So when we're talking about energetics, we're just talking about the effects on the tissue states of the body. So kind of just how it behaves when it goes into your body. And then the next area right here is going to be where we list all of the plant actions. So you may recognize some of these, I hope: adaptogen, nervine, antidepressant. Those are all plant actions that are very indicated for the nervous system. But I did just want to list some of the other plant actions, and I tried to do this on most of the plants just to give you an idea of the scope of plant medicine and truly how vast their applications can be. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so oopsie. So Tulsi has more than 3,000 years of recorded use. It's very, very important to Hinduism and traditionally used in Ayurvedic medicine. It's referred to as Queen of the Herbs. And it's really wonderful for rebuilding stamina when you're just really, really burnt out. And even if you have a specific diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, it can be really wonderful for that. Um, I've heard this from a herbalist that I really like learning from. This next piece about when it's great for when you didn't sleep, but you still have to be nice to people. I've heard this herbalist say this once, and then I've just carried that around with me and seen it in myself time and time again, and also have seen it with clients when I'm working with folks who maybe new mothers or just people that are suffering from insomnia or just aren't sleeping that great, but they still kind of have to be in the world in a positive way. Tulsi can be a really, really beautiful support piece for that. And then, yeah, this is going to be a plant that helps move stagnation and clears brain fog. So if you're someone, when you get stressed out, if you have trouble thinking clearly, remembering what you were saying, or maybe you go to the kitchen and you just forget what you went in there to grab, things like that. Tulsi can be a really great one for just bringing you back into your body, supporting circulation to the brain, and just improving cognition. And then it also balances cortisol levels, supports the adrenal glands, can be really supportive for adrenal fatigue, great for PTSD. And this next piece is probably my favorite thing about Tulsi. It's very special. So it interfaces directly with the hypothalamus, which is the part of our brain that receives information about inherited stress and trauma. And Tulsi interacts with this part of the brain to help us heal those patterns, to help us, just acknowledge that maybe these inherited stresses or traumas really aren't ours to hold on to any longer. And I think a buzzword might be, many of us in the wellness community might know the term epigenetics. So it's just the idea that stress can get passed in our DNA from our ancestors. And yeah, I really haven't heard of many other plants or medicines that are able to interface with our bodies in that way. So this is pretty special piece. So if you're someone that's working with letting go of some stress that you're really feeling like isn't yours to hold on to, Tulsi might be a great one for you. And then, yeah, it's lovely for the heart. It's wonderful for folks entering sobriety. I will say, because it has such a distinct relationship with the endocrine system, because it does balance cortisol levels and balance hormones. It's great for regulating perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So it kind of be a double whammy there. So if you are feeling stressed out and calling on Tulsi, but also going through perimenopause or menopause and experiencing some symptoms, it can be really supportive. And then, yeah, I will say as well, just because of that interaction with the hormones and endocrine system, I would wait definitely past the first trimester if you were pregnancy. I have that it's contraindicated with pregnancy here. I think that's a very conservative recommendation. I do know many herbalists that think it's just fine to use during pregnancy in small doses, but I just want to mention that just in case anyone is sharing this information with pregnant folks or pregnant themselves. I personally would wait until the second trimester to begin working with Tulsi. And then my favorite way to engage with Tulsi is going to be tea. It tastes so good. It's a really wonderful cup of tea you can make for yourself, but it's also great as a tincture, which is going to be an alcohol extraction. It's very tasty as a glycerin, which is a plant sugar extraction. And then it's really fun infused into honey. And I do have a recipe here for Tulsi infused honey that you can look at in your own time. Very easy to make, so tasty. And also, yeah, it makes a really beautiful face mask. So if you're someone who, as many of us are, I think, needing to treat ourselves a little bit as we're, yeah, just facing another day in our current reality right now. I think having a little spa day and making a little Tulsi honey, putting a little in your tea, and then making a little face mask, I think that would be very fun. Okay, so the next plant I want to talk about is lemon balm. So lemon balm, just like Tulsi, is going to be cooling post-digestion and warming pre-digestion. And this is a really cool thing to think about. Just kind of shows like how curious plants are, how intuitive they are, how they're able to come into the body and really just check out like what needs to happen right now. So they're going to be warming, this plant, lemon balm, is going to be warming pre-digestion to kind of support our digestive system while we're digesting food, but then cooling post-digestion to kind of just chill everything out. And that's when it's going to have an affinity more for our peripheral nerves and not so much the autonomic nervous tissue in our bellies. But yeah, I did want to mention and make this connection that because it has this cooling and warming situation here, it can be described as a carminative. This is another plant action. And this is just describing basically any plant that supports the body with like gas or bloating or digestive trouble. So it's a carminative. And it's also going to be a nervine. So we remember that's going to be a plant that just has a calming effect on the nervous system. And when a plant is both a carminative and a nervine, we can guess every single time that it's going to be a plant that supports folks who hold stress in their stomachs. So if you're someone, when you get stressed, if maybe you have diarrhea, or opposite end of the spectrum, maybe you have constipation, gas, bloating, things just kind of don't feel at ease in your digestive tract, lemon balm is going to be a really beautiful plant for you to call on. And yeah, it's also great for the heart. It's great if when you're someone that gets stressed, if you have those heart palpitations. It's very cooling to the body. So if you just kind of feel agitated and like worked up, it just calms things right down. And it's specifically indicated for those who are hyper focused on achievement, those who are stiff and rigid, maybe for folks who are just writing lists all the time. When you get stressed out, you're just trying to, just like get all these things done and you're just really focused on achieving these goals. Lemon balm can kind of help calm that down and just bring you back into your body when you're just feeling a little like you're running around trying to get all these things done. And then, I will say this piece here. So it brings light to the spirit. So when you're dealing with depression, when you're just kind of feeling heavy, lemon balm can be a beautiful plant to call on. But instead of bringing in that bright solar energy, and we were talking earlier about some plants that did that, St. John's wort, chamomile, and calendula. All of those plants really bring in that bright light, that ultimate joy, which is wonderful. But if you're someone who maybe you identify as a night owl, maybe you just don't identify with that super bright solar energy, but your spirit still needs a little lifting. Lemon balm could be a really beautiful plant for you to call on because it brings in the light of the moon. And I'm seeing right now a very full moon shining through my window, and it's so calming and sweet. And that's truly how it feels when I take lemon balm and share lemon balm with folks. And yeah, it's great for insomnia caused by grief and sadness. So if you're having a hard time falling asleep, just kind of running over things in your heart and your head, things that are hard in your life right now, lemon balm would be a great one to call on. It's great for ADHD, for calming children, great for reoccurring nightmares. Yeah, if you're just feeling like so burnt out, drinking a quart of lemon balm a day um, would be my ultimate recommendation. And then, yeah, because it is so cooling and calming to the body, it is cooling to the thyroid. So I would just be conscious of this if you are someone who is working with a hypothyroid or Hashimoto's, something like that. If you're on a thyroid medication, lemon balm is not going to be a plant you want to take like a lot. So if you are someone who got a packet of our tea blend and you're just sipping on a cup of that tea here and there, and there's a little bit of lemon balm in there, that's fine. That's just fine. But if you wanted to drink an entire quart of lemon balm every day, or take multiple dropperfuls of a lemon balm tincture every day, and if you were someone that did identify with hypothyroid, that would not be a good idea. But just every now and then is just fine. And lemon balm is beautiful as a tea, tincture, glycerin, or hydrosol. And hydrosol is, you can think of that as like a spray. It's basically the byproduct of making essential oils. So it makes a really great room spray, or just something to kind of spray around your body when you're needing to cool down a little bit. And this is a great recipe for those with kids. I feel like this could be a really fun one to call on. It's just so tasty, so easy to make. I'll let you check that out on your own. Okay, the next plant I wanted to talk about is milky oats. So in your tea blend, we actually have the oat straw. And milky oats is just another part, a specific part of the plant during a specific time of this plant's growing season. So both oat straw and milky oats are beautiful medicine that are very supportive, but I do just want to talk about milky oats specifically for a moment. So milky oats are going to be these pods right here at the tips of the wild oat plant. When they're in season, you can squeeze out this milky latex, and that is the medicine of milky oats. And they are just incredible food for the nervous system. They're going to be that nerving tonic, that tropho-restorative, that really just deeply repair nerves. And how milky oats does this is the latex, that milky pod that's filled with latex, actually goes in and repairs the myelin sheath of frayed nerve endings. So this is really fabulous medicine for folks who've just been chronically stressed, have chronic anxiety, folks that are currently using drugs and alcohol, or just coming off chronic drug and alcohol use, folks that maybe have a lot of inflammation in their body, autoimmune issues. There's all these reasons that our nerve endings can become frayed. But milky oats really just get in there and just coat them and calm them. It's very special. And another plant that's going to be great with that just deep burnout and exhaustion. And the thing is, with milky oats, when you use this medicine, you need to use the fresh tincture. So you need a alcohol extraction of this plant that's used with the fresh milky oat tops. That is how you're going to get that medicine that repairs those frayed nerve endings. But the dried stalks of the plant, which is oat straw, which is what's in your tea, is also really, really beautiful, nourishing medicine. It's a long-term medicine. So it's something that slowly builds up in your body. And it's great when, yeah, you're just super depleted and you actually need to feed your nervous system to build it back up. And that's when oat straw is going to be indicated. And yeah, my favorite way to use oat straw is going to be in a mineral-rich infusion. And I like to add it to nettle, red raspberry leaf, and red clover. And yeah, I just making a quart of that a day is one of the most supportive things you can do for your nervous system. It's so lovely. Okay, and the last plant I believe that we're going to talk about today is chamomile. So chamomile is so powerful. It's interesting because I think many of us think like, oh gosh, I'm so stressed out, like give me something strong. And maybe wouldn't think of chamomile as a really powerful plant, but it truly is profound medicine. And yeah, again, it's going to be a nervine and also a carminative. So just like the other ones we talked about, it's a great plant for when you hold stress in your belly. Um, yeah, it's antispasmodic, which is really nice. So if you're someone that just is holding a whole lot of tension in your body, it's going to be a wonderful plant for you to call on. It's great for elders, it's great for children, it's great for adults, it's great for everybody. Um, yeah, and it's so calming. It's such like, I feel like mama bear medicine. And the very special preparation with chamomile that I like to tell people about is actually making a cup of tea, but making it with cold water. And when you use cold water, so it's not really a tea, it's actually an infusion, which is just means a very long steeping of a tea. So when you're doing an infusion, you're ideally overnight, like 8 to 10 hours would be great. But you could do an infusion for however long, that you could. So even doing it an hour is going to pull out some medicine, but just as long as you can, with 8 to 10 hours being the goal. But yeah, when you use cold water, you're actually pulling out more of the anti-anxiety and antidepressant qualities of chamomile. Whereas if you make a cup of hot tea, before you go to bed or something like that, you're actually pulling out more of that calming to the GI medicine and that sedative sleep support piece. So it's just kind of two different ways to interact with this plant. And yeah, I would say, if you're interested in doing a cold infusion, you don't have to get fancy. You can just go to the grocery store and get chamomile tea bags and make it that way. And this is a little area that describes that. So you can go back to that in your own time. And then this is a really beautiful recipe for cinnamon and chamomile cold infusion. And cinnamon is a moistening plant. It's a nervous system plant. It's a nervine. It's a beautiful potentiator. So it's a plant that really activates the properties in other plants, which is really beautiful. And it tastes great. And it's also a blood sugar regulator. So if you're someone who, yeah, maybe you're struggling with that inflammation piece in the body, and a big reason for that is because your diet, maybe you're just reaching for a bit more sugar than is feeling good for your body. Cinnamon can help with sugar cravings. It just kind of helps regulate that blood sugar level in the body, so you're not feeling like you need a fix. And yeah, I love this blend. It's a great way to start your day. It really just keeps the body moist and calm, and yeah, just really gets you into your parasympathetic state first thing in the morning, which is great. Okay, I know I just said maybe we shouldn't eat so much sugar, but this is a really fun recipe for cookies. Um, these are pretty healthy cookies. But this, yeah, you can just look at this in your own time. There's so many ways for us to engage with plant medicine, and yeah, why not make chamomile cookies? Okay, friends, there's so many slides left, but I do just want to go over this last one, and then we'll switch into questions. So these are going to be my ultimate nervous system support recommendations. And we talked about some of these when we were talking about the foundation pieces, but I will just mention protein in the morning. So I know some of us are kind of hooked on, a smoothie first thing, or oatmeal, something like that. When we introduce sugar into our bodies first thing, we're unfortunately getting into that fight or flight sympathetic response. But protein is so grounding and so calming to the body. And if you can start your day out with protein, that would be a wonderful support piece. And then oiling the body inside and out. So someone once described this to me as bumper cars. I really like thinking about that. So basically, we're out in the world where our bodies are these sensory receptors, and things are kind of flying at us nonstop, and our nerve endings and our nervous systems are constantly having to decide, is this a time where I'm going to freak out or calm down, or what do I need to do here? And when we oil our bodies inside and out, we kind of create this buffer. So things are still coming at us, but they bounce off a little softer. We're less, things are less able to penetrate our bodies in the same way if we're oiling on the inside and out. So on the outside, reaching for herbal oils if you can is going to be a great way to do this, but also just grabbing like kitchen oils. So yeah, coconut oil, olive oil, anything you have hanging around is going to be really supportive. And then on the inside, eating like any kind of nut butter or avocado, just something with good, healthy, fatty oils is really going to support your nerve endings. And then when you're oiling, don't forget your ears. So this is one of the most calming things you can do for your body. If I were to give everyone homework tonight, this would be it. Just when you're crawling into bed, grabbing a little oil and taking, maybe 5 minutes or so, and just really oiling, really getting in there on your ears. It's very, very calming. Okay, and then the last piece I'll share is flower essences. So there's a slide in here where I list several flower essences that are supportive. We're obviously not going to have time to go into each of them, but please reach out to me if you're looking for flower essence recommendations. Flower essences are energetic medicine of the plant, so you're not getting any of the phytochemicals. It's just the energetic imprint, and they're profoundly effective and just beautiful, beautiful support piece that you can give yourself. Okay, and there's so many other plants and fun recipes. Just want to show you all, lots to check out on your own time, and everyone's going to get a copy of this, which is great. And I am just zooming to the very last page. Yeah, so this is where my contact information is. So please reach out with any questions. I love going down plant rabbit holes. So any ideas or questions that you have, I'd love to discuss them further. And then sourcing herbs. I just wanted to mention that this slide is in here. So, when possible, sourcing from local organic farms, sourcing from your local herbalist, that's always a great idea. But these are some bigger farms and companies that really, they work with sourcing organic and sustainably. And these are great places to order in bulk if you're looking to do that. Okay. All right. So.
Okay, that was so interesting.
Oh my gosh, I know that was so much, everybody. Thanks for letting me fly through it all.
So we have so many questions. I think a lot of them are asking you to just repeat things, but I think since they're going to get a copy of the presentation and a recording, if they do want to remind everybody, you will get copies of the slides and a link to the recording of this presentation. So you'll be able to check that out, review information. So have no fear. Somebody wants to know, what is considered too much caffeine?
Oh, great question. Okay, I don't want to be the bad lady here, but I feel like 1 cup of coffee a day is ideal if you can hang out in that world. If your source of caffeine is not as acidic as coffee, you know, if you're doing like a green tea or something like that, maybe a couple, up 2 or 3 cups at most. But yeah, the caffeine piece is more thinking about the coffee and the acidity in the body and how that causes inflammation. So that's why you want to limit it to just 1 cup, unfortunately.
We have a couple questions about the tea blends. People want to know how much of each ingredient. Is it sort of equal parts? Is it more or less of some things?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, for the tea blends, maybe I can pull that up again. It's going to be all equal parts. Ooh, hope that's not making everyone too dizzy. Yeah, it's going to be all equal parts except for there's 2 parts of, where are you? It's coming up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I believe I used 2 parts of Tulsi and 2 parts of hawthorn. And then everything else was equal. And I will say that hawthorn is the part in this blend that makes things a little tart, which I find really lovely. So if you were wanting to get a little more flavor in there, hawthorn, you could add 3 or 4 parts if you wanted. Or if you wanted it more spicy, you could add a bit more ginger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's see. I had quite a few questions about just how to tell if a herb provider is reputable. How do you tell if they're good quality? That sort of thing.
Yeah, those are great questions. Whew. Well, I feel, you know, herbal medicine, it's interesting because it's really not regulated in some ways. Like you are, if you're selling medicine at kind of a more mainstream level, if you're selling your products in like Whole Foods or your local vitamin health food store or something like that, I would say probably every brand in there is going to be reputable. I that's my prayer. I think the FDA does get pretty strict on herbal medicine that is being sold in like more mainstream. Some brands that I really love and trust are going to be Gaia Herbs. I could write that. I don't know how to spell Gaia. Like that? Hope I did that right.
Gaia, maybe?
Okay. Gaia Herbs is a great one. What's another one? Oh, Herb Farm. So these are going to be brands that make tinctures, and yeah, another one, Urban Moonshine. These are brands that I 100% trust. know people that work for them and with them. They all have master herbalists formulating everything and grow everything organically. So yeah, I would recommend those three. And then, I mean, building relationships, if you have a local farm or local herbalist, building relationships with them and just asking them, like, where do you get your herbs? You know, like, what are you using? What are your ratios? Just really kind of doing some digging. That would be my recommendation. And yeah, if you're sourcing bulk herbs, you know, if you're wanting to make your own tea blend, something like that. Oh, great. Yeah, Melody, that's a great recommendation. Yeah, but if you're sourcing herbs to make your own medicine, those three resources that I have at the end of the presentation are fabulous places to source and very trustworthy.
Okay, excellent. Kind of related to that, a bunch of people wanted to know if you have any tips for growing your own herbs. Which ones are easy to grow, how to do that, how to get started.
Yeah. So yes, I think all of us should be growing our own herbs. It's so fun. You can start, gosh, you can start with a pot, like a potted plant in your kitchen window, you know, growing a little bit of lemon balm. You can start, you can just start so minimally. Like pots is a nice way when you're just getting going, you know, if you maybe you don't have a yard or the ability to like make a garden bed, something like that. Just a lot of these herbs, you can describe them as kitchen witch herbs. So they're, a lot of them are like culinary herbs, you know, even Tulsi, the one that we first talked about, profound medicinal plant, like amazing plant, and it's cousins with basil, you know, that you can grow really easily in your kitchen. So yeah, I think how to get started would be, I mean, the easiest way I think right now is like winter, you know, so it's time like where a lot of people are starting seeds and things like that. You could definitely do that, but if you wanted to just keep it simple, I would wait maybe till the spring. And when you're ready to create your garden, just getting like starts, just going to your local, you know, if you have like a local co-op or nursery, many of them are going to have the organic medicinal herbs, and then you just plop them in. Like it's so easy. A lot of these herbs are like wild plants, you know, like once you start them, they just go crazy. They're really not, it's not hard. So, excuse me. Yeah. So I would say don't be scared and just try. Start in your kitchen with planted pots. And then if you wanted to do a garden bed in the spring, go for it. And you can't go wrong. It's just fun.
Excellent. So we have kind of a chemistry question. Why does the water temperature determine what is brought out in chamomile?
Yeah. So in every plant, there's different constituents in that plant, which basically means, yeah, like different chemical compounds in the plant. And in chamomile, you're pulling out with cold water. And I will be transparent and say that like part of me doesn't fully understand this chemistry, but I know that it's true because I see it happen. But the cold water pulls out the polysaccharides and the mucilaginous parts of the plant, so like the slimy constituents. And those are going to be the parts that are, yeah, that are just really like medicinal, healing to like tissues in the body. They're like slimy, so they're kind of like hydrating and they just like coat the body. So yeah, if the cold water, for a very scientific, beautiful reason that I wish I knew better, is going to be the menstruum that pulls that out, where hot water just pulls out different constituents, and alcohol is going to pull out different constituents, and vinegar will pull out different constituents. Like it's all, yeah, many different menstruums are going to pull out different parts of the plant. I hope that's an okay answer. I wish I could answer that more scientifically.
Right. So somebody asked a question about any books that you would recommend that maybe the library could acquire, if anyone's interested.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, wish I could just pull them all out. You know what? This is just like a no-brainer. These are a couple really good beginner books. This is one, it's a Rosemary Gladstar. She's kind of like the godmother of plant medicine, I feel, or gosh, or just like Western herbalists. But yeah, it's called Medicinal Herbs, A Beginner's Guide. And it's Rosemary Gladstar. And then this one I would love so much. It's called The Gift of Healing Herbs. And it's by Robin Rose Bennett, which is Bennett. Those will just make you fall right in love with plant medicine. And there's so many great recipes and easy how-to chapters.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel like we might have a little spike in interest, so I want to make sure we're prepared.
Oh, good, yeah.
I have several people who have questions about specific ailments they have or specific like recommendations they want. Is it best for them just to email you?
Yeah, go ahead and email me. I'll put my email. Let's see, hope I did that right. Yeah, and then my contact information is also at the end of the presentation for folks.
Okay. Kind of backtracking, well, not backtracking, but someone wants to know if you know of any books or resources by Native Americans.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful book called Braiding Sweetgrass that recently came out. I don't see it right now in front of me, but the author is Robin Wall Kimmerer, I believe. And she is Native American, and that would be a great one to start with. I'm sure there's so many others, but that one's coming to mind.
Okay. Oh, there was an interesting question. Oh, a couple people asked about the difference between Western and Eastern herbal medicine. Is there a significant difference? Mostly similar?
Yeah, so Western herbalism, I feel like does borrow a lot from traditional Chinese medicine. It borrows a whole lot, honestly. There's, in our diagnostics, how we think about energetics in the body, how we think about elements in the body, earth, air, fire, water, things like that. We borrow that from TCM. So those would be similarities, but then there's going to be, of course, just different plants. There's some plants that we both use. Yeah, I'm kind of blanking on what those are right now, but we do have many plants in common. But yeah, I think it's just more about like what's growing in the eastern part of the world versus what's growing here. And then also I think with Western herbalism, there's just, there's so many lineages that we're calling on. Like it's kind of like a hodgepodge of information, that's been passed down by indigenous folks, information that's been passed on, from our ancestors and wherever, anywhere in the world. So there's all of that is kind of funneled into what's growing here and the plants that are growing here. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest difference, just all the different lineages and avenues that come into Western herbalism, whereas a lot of Eastern medicine is just, it kind of has been there forever, like has one main stream of like how it's being passed down through the lineages. Yeah, is that helpful?
I think so.
It is. Okay.
So I have a question about all the herbs you mentioned. Are most of them native to the area, like New England, or are they more spread out? Would they be easy to grow here, or some of them more finicky?
Yeah, they're all so easy to grow here. Every single one I mentioned. There's in the slides, there's a few plants that are definitely not native to New England. Kava is one that comes to mind. It's, definitely native to like Pacific Islands. You're going to have a hard time growing kava. Just does not like this climate. And it's also very sacred to certain indigenous people, and it might not be our place to be growing it in the first place. So there's that piece to think about as well. But yeah, all of the plants I mentioned, wild oats, that's growing on the side of the road. Anywhere you drive, you probably have seen it. Chamomile grows wildly. Tulsi is not native to here. It's native to Asia, but it does grow here quite easily. Yeah.
A couple people wanted to know some more details about oiling your ears. Like with a Q-tip, like inside, or just no?
Just like, yeah, just so getting a little bit of oil in your hands and just doing it with your hands all over. Inside, but not like inside.
Yeah.
Not really deep. But yeah, just kind of sticking to the lobes, and it's just so calming. I'm so excited for you all to try it. Yeah, it's really very calming.
I think that pretty much covers just about everything. Unless anybody has anything, and of course now I have lots of messages popping up. Oh, are any of these plants considered invasive?
Well, I mean, chamomile goes pretty crazy. That one could get a little wild. I don't think technically they're considered invasive. That's such a tricky, like, philosophical debate as well, like what's native, what's invasive. Yeah, I feel like tender with that question in some ways, because I know, gosh, it's so hard when plants kind of take over and hurt our ecosystems. That's not the best. Yeah, but I do feel like, I don't know, sometimes it's really beautiful to let chamomile kind of go crazy in your garden bed. So yeah, I'm not sure who answered that one. Oh, Shelley. Yeah, so Shelley, I'm not 100% sure of like the official, if they are like officially considered invasive. A lot of them do kind of grow like crazy if you do plant them, but if you're in a garden bed, I think that's totally safe for the ecosystem around you. Yeah.
Okay. I think we have time for one more. Somebody wants to know, if you had to pick one ultimate beginner plant, what would you start with?
To grow?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Okay, I have 3.
Okay. Hard to pick a favorite, I know.
Yeah, these are ones that just they're just so easy to grow, and they just kind of go crazy. Lemon balm, for sure. Lemon balm can work inside, outside, on your porch, in your kitchen, in your garden bed. It's very hard to kill a lemon balm plant. It really just does its thing. So I recommend that one. Also catnip. We did not talk about catnip today, but there is a slide on it in the presentation, and it's such a lovely, lovely support for the nervous system. It also grows like crazy, and it has these beautiful flowers that attract a lot of butterflies and different critters. And of course, cats love it, so that's fun. So I'd recommend that one. And then Tulsi. Tulsi is very, very easy to grow. And yeah, the medicine in Tulsi is just so profound. So it's like, why not grow it if it's that easy?
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So I think that covers everything. Thank you so much. That was so interesting. I really enjoyed that. Everybody else seems to have as well. So thank you so much. And yeah, as soon as I have the slides from you and this recording finishes converting, I'll get that uploaded to our YouTube page, and I'll send everybody a link to the recording. So you'll have all those things.
Awesome. Jenna, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for hanging out tonight. And I know it was so much information, so you all are troopers. All right. Oh no, I'm seeing.
Oh, lots of thank yous.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.